In a series of shocking attacks, multiple pager bombs detonated across Lebanon, sending shockwaves through the nation. The attacks targeted Hezbollah members, resulting in numerous casualties and injuries. The use of pagers has raised many questions about the perpetrators and their motives. The attacks occurred in southern Beirut and the Bekaa Valley, Hezbollah strongholds. Hezbollah blames Israel, citing their history of covert operations. The Lebanese government condemned the attacks as terrorism and a violation of sovereignty. Following the attacks, Hezbollah accused Israel of being behind the pager bomb blasts. The group vowed to retaliate against what it perceives as an act of war. Hassan Nasrallah declared that Israel had crossed a red line. Hezbollah's accusations are rooted in their long and bloody history. They fought a month-long war in 2006. Israel views Hezbollah as a serious threat due to its large arsenal of rockets and missiles. The pager bomb attacks have tragically resulted in the loss of innocent lives, further deepening the scars of conflict in the region. While the exact number of casualties is still being determined, early reports indicate that at least 9 people were killed, including a young child. The attacks also left hundreds injured, some critically, overwhelming hospitals already grappling with limited resources. The human cost of this violence extends far beyond the immediate casualties. The attacks have instilled fear and uncertainty among the Lebanese population, many of whom have lived through years of conflict and instability. The psychological toll of such violence can have long-lasting effects, particularly on children who are forced to confront the horrors of war at a young age. The international community must come together to condemn these senseless acts of violence and work towards a peaceful resolution to the ongoing conflict. The focus should be on protecting civilians and ensuring their safety, as well as providing humanitarian assistance to those affected by this tragedy. Section 4. International condemnation and calls for restraint. The pager bomb attacks in Lebanon have drawn widespread condemnation from the international community, with world leaders calling for restraint and urging all parties to avoid further escalation. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to address the situation, expressing deep concern over the attacks and emphasizing the need for a de-escalation of tensions. The United States, a close ally of Israel, has condemned the violence while also urging Hezbollah to exercise restraint in its response. The European Union has echoed these sentiments, calling for a peaceful resolution to the conflict and emphasizing the need to protect civilians caught in the crossfire. The international community's focus is on preventing a wider conflict from erupting. Diplomatic efforts are underway to facilitate dialogue between the parties involved and explore avenues for de-escalation. The situation remains highly volatile, and any miscalculation or act of retaliation could have devastating consequences for the entire region. Section 5. Implications for Lebanon's stability. The pager bomb attacks have dealt a significant blow to Lebanon's fragile stability, threatening to plunge the country further into chaos and uncertainty. Lebanon is already grappling with a multitude of challenges, including a severe economic crisis, political deadlock, and the presence of armed groups operating outside the control of the state. The attacks have exacerbated existing tensions and raised concerns about the potential for renewed internal conflict. The incident has also exposed the vulnerabilities of the Lebanese state and its inability to effectively control its borders and prevent the flow of weapons and militants. The international community must provide support to Lebanon in its efforts to maintain stability and prevent further violence. This includes providing economic assistance to alleviate the country's financial crisis and working with the Lebanese government to strengthen its security forces and institutions. Section 6. The risk of wider conflict. The pager bomb attacks in Lebanon have significantly heightened the risk of a wider conflict erupting in the region. The incident has inflamed tensions between Israel and Hezbollah, two heavily armed adversaries with a history of violent confrontations. The potential for miscalculation or unintended escalation is high, and any further act of violence could quickly spiral out of control. The international community must work diligently to prevent a wider conflict from erupting. This requires engaging in intensive diplomacy with all parties involved, urging restraint and facilitating dialogue to address underlying grievances. The situation in Lebanon is a stark reminder of the volatility of the Middle East and the ever-present threat of conflict. The international community must remain vigilant and engaged in efforts to promote peace and stability in the region. Failure to do so could have catastrophic consequences not only for the Middle East but for the wider world.